Good morning, good afternoon, and for those of you across the pond, good evening, and welcome to another edition of a Hubinar from Nonprofit Hub. I'm Randy Hawthorne, the Executive Director here, and I am so excited to have Tom Ahern with us today. I was telling him before we got on how it was just so great to hear his voice, and I know he's always got something great to say. How are you doing today, Tom?
Well, it is a beautiful, almost Nebraska-style day here in Rhode Island. We call it the small sky state.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of sky. That's for sure here. And you're out in the country, just
I
not traveling
am.
much.
No. Airplanes be a thing of the past for a while. I'm hoping to get back on one. They used to be my hobby. I'd be flying here, there, and everywhere,
Well, and
and
I know you have a home
not
in
anymore.
France.
Huh?
And I know you have a home in France.
Oh, yeah, we think we do. I mean, we haven't heard different, but even the people who take care of the house when we're not there, who go in and clean it, make sure
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
working, they can't get there. They're not
Oh,
allowed to
oh wow. Okay.
because they live in a different town.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you have a lot of good things to say, and so I'm going to get out of your way and let you say them.
Okay, so I see start broadcast. Should I click on that, or are
No,
we
you
already
should.
there?
We're rolling.
We're rolling, so I don't
Yep.
have to do anything.
No, just start going.
Okay, so you can see my screen, and I want to just check one other thing, Randy.
Yeah.
I'm going to advance a slide. Did it come to a new slide? What charities fear?
Yep.
Okay.
You are ready
Well,
to rock and
we
roll.
are off and running. All right. Well, first of all, thank you, all of you invisible people, and thank you for joining me today. It's noontime here, and I got asked by my local community foundation a few weeks ago to throw together a show for nonprofits in my state, Rhode Island, and in that show to deal with some of the issues that are coming out because of the coronavirus um, calamity that we are all together in right now. And so I did some research and I talked to a bunch of experts, and this is what you're going to see is what I discovered. And so the first thing is what are charities afraid to do? And this is Jeff Brooks. Jeff and I have fun being nincompoops. We have a little video thing we just recorded this morning, one called "Old White Guys," and old white guys discuss fundraising or something. I don't know. We're changing the name. But here's Jeff, and what the subject today was what shouldn't you do? And he put out a post. You can see April 8th on Future Fundraising Now, which everyone should subscribe to. It's free. And the post, you can read it at your leisure. I'm not going to go through it all. It's a lot of small type right here. But basically, you're hearing particularly overly self-important board members saying things like it's insensitive to fundraise now, and so forth. It's exploitative. That's horrible. Shouldn't be doing that. Need to cut costs and so forth. And these are they all go down to the part of this that's set in red, which says going silent on donors has only a single guaranteed outcome. That will make your fundraising worse. That'll make your financial pain worse. So a lot of charities are in financial pain, and in part because they're just small businesses at some level, and small businesses generally, and this is commercial and nonprofit, do not have a lot of operating capital in reserve. They are able to maybe cover a month, maybe cover 2 months at best, and this is national averaging, but that's it, and then they're out of business. So let's look at what people are doing in the fundraising world. What's actually happening? Well, we've got some good news from Mark Phillips, who is based in London. Bluefrog is the name of his agency. And Bluefrog pretty much every day is surveying donors about their attitudes during this crisis, and it's very specific at this point in time. And what he's discovered, you can see I've got a little lime green arrow pointing at it. This was brought in from Twitter, by the way. You'll see everything that came in from Twitter has got a little tweet icon there, and that is because I want to share with you that for me, Twitter is my number one professional feed. I get a little bit from whatever it's called, but the business one. But most of it is coming in through Twitter, and that's where all sorts of experts are hanging out. People like Mark Phillips, for instance. So you get the benefit of their daily or frequent advice. The observation that his research brought back was that if I am not worried about my finances, then I am going to continue supporting my favorite charities just as I was before the coronavirus, because it's not a financial issue for me. I will, however, expand my giving, perhaps, if, of course, you ask, if you have something specifically related to the coronavirus. Right? And that can simply be, we're going out of business. Please help us, bridge this period, this awful period, and so we'll be there for the community in the future. Now, I'm going to share with you a formula that's been working really well, but it is important if they're not out of work. And of course, unfortunately, that isn't the case for getting up there into the double digits in America anyway. Some projections that we may have 20% unemployment by 2021. So there are going to be a lot of people who do not feel financially secure. But for those who do, they're going to continue giving. So that's the first thing. They're going to continue giving. Now, Bloomerang has access to an immense amount of data because they have over 8,000 charities who use the Bloomerang software for their donor information management. And what they found was that during a certain period of time, their customers, the Bloomerang customers, raised $1.35 million more during a certain time during this crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, than they did during the very same time period last year. So let's look at that. For instance, well, we're in April, almost into May, and this is for many charities. This is kind of the slumpy period for fundraising because the traditional giving season is October, November, December, maybe into a little bit into January, and so that's where you mostly make your money. It's not that way for everybody. A lot of times people will have seasonal appeals, for instance, and so forth. But we're just looking at a year-over-year, a year-on-year comparison. So in 2019, they made this amount, and in 2020, in the midst of this crisis that completely consumes the news, they've made $1.35 million more. So are people giving? Yes. Are they giving more? Yes. And that's the trend line. Now, here's some interesting things that happen. I know how much all of us love events, and we wish we could just do more and more of them. But you can't, because you can't stand around with each other anymore. So here's what happened: is the Naperville Education Foundation. Now this case study is laid out in greater detail on the Bloomerang website for free, so you can go there and see it. But I've kind of consolidated it, the high points here. We canceled the event, and hey, look at that, we made more money. So what kind of event do they have? This was their 27th annual fundraiser coming up, and they're clearly beloved, and the community knows what they do and likes what they do and wants to help. And every year they get together for a big hoo-ha, and $100,000 is donated at that hoo-ha. But this year, no hoo-ha. So you've got the announcement email. That's the one on the left, number one, and you can see what is the most prominent thing here. It's the donate now button. And thank you in advance. Thank you for being a part of our giving and generous community. Now is the time you can make a difference. So, okay, it's put in the framing of our daily news, which is this crisis, and when will it end? And then the next email you see on the right, and they've created a replacement event, air quotes event, a virtual event. They're going to raise money for the Kid Booster Crisis Fund. So they've brought in the word crisis as a new addition to what used to be called the Kid Booster Anonymous Fund, and now it's the Crisis Fund. And they give you, again, right in the middle, donate, and then if you miss that one, there's another one, donate, and so forth. And this is what happened the day of. So it was supposed to happen on a certain day. During that day, they did the virtual event. And the virtual event it was a long email. You can see I've broken it down. It was 4 kind of scrolls long. And it had, stuff you could look at, like videos of drumming and videos of a teacher doing something, and videos of the Lego League and stuff like that. And it's all a lot of fun. And you get to see basically who is being served by your charity too, the kids. These are your kids because it's your community. And then what? Oh my gosh, I did something bad. Okay, I'm still here, coming back right away. Okay, don't do that again. All right. So what happened? Okay, they'd get from this is what their 27th, their 26th fundraiser 2019 raised 100,000, but they only netted 75 because, of course, there are costs associated with holding a big event, and food and rental and so forth, and so they netted 75. This year, they netted 100,000 because they didn't have any costs. So woohoo! Another one, canceled the event and went over goal. This is another kind of education-related charity, and first you get the email, and it cancels the big event. And there's the executive director talking to you. That's her there. And next you get a series of 5 appeals, and what you're looking at on the right is the last of that series of 5. And you can see, very simple, very straightforward, no confusion. You can support students like Amani today. Click here to hear from her, so you can get a very personal, message from her. She's going to that college, and that's what you're paying for. That's what you're hoping for. That's your mission here. That's what you contribute to. And then after the series of 5, they reported back, how did the campaign do? Well, you see the thermometer. It went way over goal. Not only 100,000 raised, but 118,000 raised, which is masterful. And who gets the credit? The community. The community. The community. I literally, look at that last paragraph. I literally cannot thank each of you enough. I mean, it's plain English, which it should be. It's a real person talking, which it should be. And there she is, and she's saying, I literally can't thank each of you enough. And it's a very sweet thing to hear. What you can bring to your community, your base, your family of supporters right now is some reassurance that the world didn't end, that good things are going to continue to happen. They would appreciate that. So before we get into that, though, that's a little later in the show, what they can do for you now. I'm going to show you this emergency appeal template, and we know it works. I'm going to show you the proof. and then also works, as you'll learn, in direct mail, not just e-appeals. So the channel you send it in is not the important part. Here's an example of this it's an 8-point formula. I'm going to take you through it in pieces, but here's what one of these looks like. So you got on the left and the right. It's all one email, obviously, but now you see how long or short actually it is. This is actually quite a long one, given this particular template. And you can see up in the upper left, coronavirus consequence. That's the subject line. Emergency funds needed. Okay. So what do we got there? Here you click through on one of the two donate buttons, top and bottom, and you're given a giving string that is based on the offer. So in the email, it points out that they need about $32 per housing unit. This is a senior living communities for low income. And they need about $32 per housing unit to end the isolation of these people during this crisis and bring in high-speed, internet access plus telemedicine, which, of course, it's a senior living community, so medicine is a huge part of their world. I read the email, and it was sent to me by somebody I know, Steve Hurlick, who's director of development there. And he was just saying, well, I just wanted to show you what I did because he and I are friends, and and so forth. And I admire his work, but I read it. I have no connection to this ministry, which is down in San Antonio, Texas. But I read it and I said, wow, good one. I was moved. And I thought, well, how many am I going to help? I didn't think numbers. I thought, how many am I going to help? Each person, $32. Okay, I could help one person. Nah. Two housing units? No, I could go for 3. That's kind of my more typical gift anyway, a first-time gift. So I did, and that's what I did. And then I talked to Steve, actually. I called him up. How did this do? All right. So how did it do? It did good. You can see the opening rate was almost half. How many times you get half of the people you send an email to opening it? Hardly ever, but he got it because the subject line brought people immediately in. The click-through rate was also very high. In 24 hours, he raised about $11,000. That's the first 24 hours after this email went out. It just went out at this point just once. And the goal for the entire ministry for 2 campuses was 22,000. Now we get this high speed into every housing unit. And what happened next, after the first 24 hours, is that Steve went out to his major donor portion of his list and said, we're halfway there. Can you help us get all the way there? And he was at goal probably within 48 hours. The average, well, you can see some other things. Then in the same template, which I'm now going to explain to you, has raised, at this point, this was a couple of weeks ago, had raised $1.5 million for small organizations. Just this template alone in this off-season time of the year for many fundraisers has raised $1.5 million for smaller charities. So the first thing is, and come right out, get to the point. This is an urgent message. I don't normally send you emails like this, blah, blah, blah. These desperate times. Describe how the situation hurts either the beneficiaries, the people you serve, the forward progress of this cause, or the organization itself could be out of service, not out of business, out of service if they don't do something to fill the hole that this coronavirus has created. The people coming to places like food banks, as you're probably fully aware because it's all over the news, has just soared. And so if you're in a type of charity where that's the kind of work you do, feed the poor, house the poor, clothe the poor, heal the poor, this is your time, right? Because there's more and more demand for these. And in this case, they're using the example of a place that works to keep people from becoming homeless. And they're reporting that because they're losing their jobs, moms and kids are coming to them in greater numbers. And then number three, and really you only have to get to number three. Ask for a special gift. Will you make a gift of, and you put in a number. Now, Steve did 32 because that's actually what he needed, was for every housing unit to be equipped, they needed $32 per housing unit. And in this case, they're looking for 33. So it's a doable number, and that's not an accident. If you were to add, please make an urgent gift of $125, $26, just to make it more interesting, you wouldn't have as high a response rate. So you're kind of balancing, where is our sweet spot? Where is our real average gift? 33, that's pretty good. And it is, because the average donation in the United States is somewhere around that, $33. It varies, of course, but it typically. Now, the note here is very important. Most people have decided within a few seconds whether they're leaning towards you or away from you, or not away from you. More, are they going to be inert and not act, or are they going to be active and respond? And they'll have decided by point number three, and that's why you get to the point early. You don't waste my time. Now, you can add into that a very short story, and here's the executive director. Here's what's going on. I just got off the phone from speaking with a worried mom named Angie, and now I know I can see somebody. There's our poster child. Angie waits tables. Okay, well, guess what? Restaurants are closed, so she's out of work, and how are they going to get by? Well, blah, blah, blah. We will help her pay her rent during this bad period, and if we have your help. Then you go past Angie. The need is bigger than one. Just this week, I've gotten all these other phone calls, and all these other people are at risk, and so forth. So it's a bigger problem. And here's the kicker, the capper. It's not in our budget because nobody had this. Nobody had the coronavirus in their budget. They just didn't. And so we need your help right now. And then again, we need your help right now. That's number 8. Say it again. Say it twice. And so forth and so on. Now, there's a couple other items, a couple other tweaks. You put the bottom at the top and the bottom, because a lot of people do their email appeals and put the button at the bottom, which is absolutely wrong. It should be at the top and the bottom, or if you really only, somebody's saying, you only get one button, put it at the top, because that's where you're going to encounter people. They're not going to read all the way to the end. As this 8-point formula points out, they've made their decision by point number 3. You don't want it to be very long. The grade level, and you have to learn how to score this. I do it in Microsoft Word. There's something called Hemingway Online that will help you with this. You got to get your grade level down, because grade level has nothing to do with the vocabulary you're using. It has to do with the speed at which I can consume your writing. And I can consume your writing much faster at the 4th grade level than I can at the 8th grade level, where my brain actually has to do some intellectual work. So do that also in this time. Emails have a very spotty reputation. Before the coronavirus, they were suffering. Now people, maybe it's one of the few ways they have of connecting with the world, but so they may be paying a little more attention, but just keep sending. Don't stop at one. Send again. All right. So here's Steve's email. I've now numbered it for you so that you can see how each of the 8 points is worked out in his email. And then I'm bringing to you Ruth Frazier. Ruth didn't stop with email. She took the very same formula, wrote a direct mail letter. It said the same thing as the email appeal. And what she did is she sent me a photo of herself holding the stack of responses that came in with the first mailing. first mail, first day. 105 responses in the mail first day, 17,000 plus. The companion email, which uses exactly the same formula, brought in over 23,000 in 24 hours. One of her major donors, people that have larger capacity, stepped in and said, "Hey, Ruth, would it help if you had a match?" And of course, we all know matches raise more money. So she said, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Well, I'll match everything up to 50,000." And she put that in her offer as well. And within 48 hours, basically, with the match, with the email, with the direct mail, she had raised $100,000. So, wow. Here's Lisa Sargent. And Lisa is always the best advice available on the face of the earth. And she wants to point out, because people who are not copywriters have some civilian ideas about how language, how the audience really works, and they get tired of saying the same things over and over. So in truth, you can't wear out words like urgent. You might be tired of, we don't know what the future holds, but donors will respond to that. This is stimulus response. Talk to Amy Vance, who is a wonderful fundraising consultant down in Tennessee, see how she's dealing with it, and for her clients, and her clients are making a ton of money right now. And some of them are like mobile health clinics that go into Appalachia and places like that. And her advice to her clients, and what she helps them with, because she also writes, is to talk with empathy, transparency, vulnerability, and boldness. Now, the first three, those aren't outside of the paint box of most charities. They can understand. Yeah, empathy, that's a good thing. Transparency, of course. Vulnerability, yes. In these times, let's all be vulnerable together. That feels much more communal. But what charities do not do very well, this is themselves shooting themselves in the foot, is boldness. They run away from it. We don't want to offend anyone. So, and then you see this kind of, we don't want to say that. We're a blah blah. We're a formal. We're a academic. We're everybody we raise money from has a PhD. Wow, we're not going to talk that way. That's cheesy and sickly sweet, as this copywriter, budding copywriter, trained copywriter, heard from her from her colleagues and the board. Now, cheesy and sickly sweet. Now, the professional copywriters are going, "Hey, excellent work, cheesy and sickly sweet, just what we're going for." But the people who don't know that, because they aren't trained, have a bad reaction. So here's Jeff Brooks again. If your boss is nervous, that's actually a good sign. Good fundraising makes your insiders uncomfortable. They are not responding the way the real target audience will. Now, does that mean you won't get any pushback? No, you will get pushback. Here's the United Way of Pickens County. And you can see I got an email, kind of a, woe is me email from the executive director saying a major donor cussed me out because of this, whatever the reason is. She offended him somehow. And the answer is, yeah, that's a good thing. Don't worry about complaints. That's part of it. That's what one of the things professionals know. You will get complaints if you're doing anything it's strong at all, bold, because you can't please everybody. If you take something that's really bold, let's say, and you put it bring it into your board, and there are 12 people on that board, and you hand it out, and it's really good but bold, half of the people are going to hate it, and half of the people are going to like it. You get 6-6, and that's normal. That's what you should have. Boldness is like that. So don't worry about it. Complaints are normal and fine. Okay. Never waste a good crisis. Everybody from Churchill to Rahm Emanuel, Mayor of Chicago, Chief of Staff for Barack Obama, they've said this, and they get things done because the crisis gets everybody kind of out of their lethargy and pointed in one direction and hoping for a good result. How do you double your fundraising revenue? Well, we got this Hillborn, they're up in Canada, formula which works. You move 10% of your donors into monthly. So 10% of your donors who are giving annually, move them into monthly. It's a fairly easy thing to do. Persuade about 3% of your bigger value annual donors to upgrade their giving to $500. So if they're at if you got somebody at $250, they can go to $500. Ask them to do that. And then get 5% of your donors to include you in their will. So that money will start to flow into your door within 3 years. And that's how you literally, that is the easy formula for doubling your fundraising. This is the time to try some of this stuff, because what else you get to do? Here's Erica Warsdorf, who is the kind of the monthly giving guru in the United States, and she's talking about this is a good time to ask people to make a monthly gift, to come on board, either come on board new as a monthly donor, or your existing donors, to ask them to switch from annual to monthly. Not everybody's going to do it, but if 20% did it, that would be fabulous. Much better for your bottom line to have monthly donors than to have annual donors. And some other advice from Erica. Here's I wanted to show you the Norman Rockwell Museum, which is a wonderful museum, by the way. If anybody is ever in Western Massachusetts, it's a goodie, worth going to. And the executive director, that's her there. Caught her at a bad moment with her eyes shut, but she's actually talking to me on their giving page, and you can see what their giving string is. Now I point this out, and I got a big red arrow pointing to one number, the number 5. And the reason I point to that number is that if you're going to promote monthly giving, you need to have a very low entry point, because you're not going to start at $25 a month. That would be an enormous amount of money in the course of a year. You're going to start, you want to have an amount that they can actually just say, oh, why not? It means nothing. It's 1 cup of Starbucks coffee a month. And that's what $5 is. And that's what Erica recommends, is you start with a low entry point. You can always upgrade them to, would you double it to 10? Would you double 10 to 20? But give them an easy way in. And another thing to know, again, Erica, these days, and we have really good research, these days, 75% of the people that are putting gifts for your charity in their will are monthly donors. 75%. A monthly donor, a bequest is 7 times more likely from a monthly donor. And by the way, because you can die from coronavirus, a lot of people are. One of the things that is happening for lawyers across country is people are finally getting around to writing that will. And so this is a good time to talk about that. And what could possibly happen if somebody does send you a will? Well, they put you in their will. Well, here's a gift. Now, this gift was just made, and it was sent to me by one of my clients so I could see what was happening. And, I blanked out their name, but this is a typical bequest in the United States for charity. Look at that, almost $75,000 from this person. This is a middle class estate, almost $75,000. Okay, there you go. Don't you want some of that? All right, so we're going to look at some basic for beginners, for those of you that are not fully there on the front lines of copywriting. Here's something you need to know that your board doesn't know, that your boss doesn't know, that you probably might not know. It took me many years to figure this part out. That the purpose of donor communications, there's only one real purpose. There's only one purpose that leads to all the other purposes. I mean, you may think, oh, the purpose is to make money. Yes, but that's not the core purpose. That's not the original purpose. That's not the thing you're actually going for, because that's a byproduct. What you are going for is to make your donor feel emotional, feel good, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Now, how can you do that? Well, lots of different ways. Sometimes if you're thanking me, okay, thanking me for who I am, not for my gift, but thanking me for who I am. Thanking me extravagantly. Oh, okay, well, all right. Well, that feels good. You can tell me I'm needed. You can tell me I'm important. You can tell me I should be proud of what I did. All these things make me feel good. Don't overthink this, by the way. This is where charities, again, get the six gun out and start pumping bullets into their foot. Don't overthink this. I know you're going to say, oh, yeah, but they're going to see right through that. And it's like, who cares? That is not, who cares? You're trying to make me feel good. Get over yourself. Part of being vulnerable is doing this. This is from Better Fundraising Company out in Seattle, and they're the people who created that 8-point formula, by the way, which you can go to their website and look at a video of Stephen Screen explaining it. It's a very quick video, and it's worth very much. Stephen's a wonderful presenter. So they do every Friday they release a graphic related to fundraising. Again, it's free. You can subscribe to it. And this was one of theirs. Now I've adapted it a little bit. The yellow voice balloon and the blue boxes are mine. But what they're pointing out here is that if you're doing the way you make most money is to connect with what's in the head of the donor. And she's thinking, I help somebody. You're thinking, perhaps, as an organization, oh, she helped us, the organization. And that's not actually who she was giving to. She was giving through you to help the person, not to you because you're a wonderful organization. She is not your donor. You are one of her charities. And the way you stay one of her charities is by weaving yourself into her self-identity. And one of the ways I use to keep myself honest when I'm doing copywriting is what I call the Is This Me test. So in other words, you've only got images and words. That's what you've got, right? You got a channel. This is Facebook fundraising. This is delivering a sponsored post to people that are following this charity, Soy Dog Foundation, which is an animal welfare charity based in Bangkok, Thailand, raises an enormous amount of money from people in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States, Ireland, and the UK, not Bangkok, Thailand. And they do that through Facebook, which is one of the wonders of Facebook fundraising. Not the this is sponsored fundraising. This is actually not Facebook doing the fundraising for you and then handing you a bunch of cash. This is Soy Dog buying ads on Facebook. And look at what it says, okay? So my challenge to myself is this me? When Melita was found unable to walk and terrified of everyone, many would have said she had no future, but not people like you. That is that moment where somebody reading that goes, yeah, that's me. People like me do things like that. And it continues to join a special group of animal lovers. That's me. I'm an animal lover who are changing the world. I want to do that. And so over and over, basically, you're putting a challenge out and saying, is this you? Is this you? Is this you? Here's a letter, a direct mail letter meant to create a bigger pool of members for the Friends of the Mississippi River. And it bumped up membership 20% with just this one letter. But that it wasn't predictable, of course, because direct mail can fail for a lot of reasons. For instance, the Postal Service could go out of business in September, as some people are projecting. However, what it was built to succeed if all other factors were okay. And the reason it was built to succeed is because it isn't really about the Friends of the Mississippi River. It's really about the person reading it and their values and what they care about, right? So they're reading, "Will you be my friend?" Now, this is the Mississippi River talking, and it's asking you, "Will you be my friend?" And you're thinking, well, yeah, of course. I mean, yes, of course. That's nature. I love nature, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on and on. Talk like a vulnerable human being. This is if you talk that way right now, if you talk that way, you're saying hello. If you talk like an institution, you want to talk about yourself and how wonderful your programs are, which nobody really cares about, in any depth except the insiders, then you can say goodbye because you're just not going to be relevant for the moment. What you can do for them. All right. Here's early in the coronavirus crisis. Back in March, Angela McBride reporting to the Twitter world, me included, what they did. So they sent out emails just saying, "How you doing? How you doing?" And they got lots of responses, some of them very long. And her comment, "People crave care and connection right now, especially." So are you helping them? Are you helping your base with that right now? Are you keeping your supporters a little bit happier by just saying hi? By the way, when you're thanking me, often this is misunderstood. This is like, "Oh, thanks for the 3-pack of fresh underwear, Grandma. I really appreciate it. It'll go to good use." No, it's not that kind of thanking. It's you're thanking the person for who they are, not for their money. "Oh, thank you for releasing a few dollar bills from your wallet." No, thank me for who I am, because that gift is actually an expression from me to the world, and particularly if it's on social media, where you can share the fact that I just made a gift to this wonderful charity. That is me saying to the world, this is who I am, at least at the moment. And what happens? Well, okay, if you start to think this way, this is a new way of thinking for almost every charity on the face of the earth. You'll end up where the Royal National Lifeboat Institution ended up with their homepage here at the 17th of March, a coronavirus update, where they have the guy, and that's a real volunteer, and it's all volunteers, and they go out into cruel seas and rescue people from drowning. That guy, he's done that, and there are females too, and they all kind of fit that mold, they look capable. But here they're saying to you during this crisis, you're part of our crew, and crew members look out for each other. Watch our special message for you. Okay, so the little offer there, you can watch a little video, and I'm sure it's wonderful. What's really going on here? Well, you're probably going, "Well, that was very nice." And it is, but it wasn't an accidental very nice. It is based on research. One of the pieces of research done is what you see here. It is psychologist Shang, and her doctoral thesis was on what are the adjectives used in the United States to describe a quote-unquote good person. And this is the list she came up with: kind, caring, compassionate, helpful, friendly, fair, hardworking, generous, and honest. Okay. Now notice how many of those adjectives cross paths with being philanthropic, with the act of philanthropy, with the act of getting off your butt and making a gift. I'm kind, therefore I did this. I'm caring, therefore I did this. I'm compassionate, therefore I did this, etc. More than half of them, and that's a high value in people's self-image. And what happens if you come back to them and reflect that? I'm going back here. The reason those adjectives are in a mirror is because every piece of donor communications you send out, digital or print, is a mirror that you're holding up to the donor and saying, "This is you." And this is what I get from one of my favorite charities, which is called Vida Hoven. It is an orphanage in one of the most dangerous places, highest murder rate on earth, which is Tijuana, Mexico. And this is an orphanage, and they get these kids. These kids have no protection. they're on the streets. They're orphans, or their parents have died, and they're maybe being cared for marginally by some other family member, or but it's just a bad life without a future. And they are brought into the orphanage. They are fed. They are cared for medically. They are schooled. They are sheltered. They are safe, and all the rest of that. And eventually, because they've been around for 30 years and we know what happens next, they go to college, almost all of them. So they were starting life as an orphan on the streets of a murder city, and then, thanks to donors, because it's heavily donor supported, they go on to college. They have a good life. Now, that's the short version. Obviously, people are all individuals, but here's this is what they send out on a regular basis, like every couple of days. I'm getting one of these because I am a donor. The subject line: Corona cowers before you, Tom. Oh God, I'm already in. Then you open it up. You're the whole enchilada, and there she is looking at me. That's little Maria. She's typical of the age of people, incoming early child coming into the orphanage, and she's saying, because she wants to share lunch with me, "You're the whole enchilada, the real deal." And a little bit of what's happening down in Tijuana, but they're getting still 3 delicious meals a day, which delicious is also means nutritious, because they are definitely big time into health. And it's all because you care. You care, Tom. We'll put that in pink just in case you missed it. You care, Tom. You're feeding these hungry children. Okay, well, I could get that every day and feel better about the day. So what did you do today for your donors to make them feel better about the day? There are certain identities that we act on. This is actually what's behind a lot of giving. And one of them is my today identity. Where am I in my world right now? And today, this is what psychologist Shang, the same person who did the research on the adjectives, is talking about. People feel these 5 words are words from Jen: paralyzed, confined, victimized, disarmed, and powerless. All right. And here's Mark Phillips explaining why people are stocking up on toilet paper, which on the surface doesn't seem all that rational. Yeah, a little bit if a hurricane were coming, but and the stores were closed. But here's what they're really doing, and so much of fundraising is the more you know about psychology, the better you'll do. They feel helpless, and stocking up on toilet paper makes them feel like they have some measure of control. The people who are financially secure, and note that most donors in the United States, most being almost half, are 65 and older, therefore may be on Social Security and be living a very kind of financially stable life. If they're financially stable and secure, they are the thing that's bothering them now is the sense of lack of control, the danger that this represents to what does the future hold. And they're a little frustrated, perhaps, and maybe a little guilty that they aren't a part of some solution. So give them a solution to be part of. You're actually providing them with a public service to be part of some solution. And then if you do that, then they could feel these ways instead. They could feel connected and cared for and listened to. And they're doing good for other people, and they're capable, which you might say, oh, capable, yeah, okay, that's nice. No, it's not nice. It's core. It is core to people's mental, emotional well-being is to feel capable. So give them something to be capable at, or give them something to say, hi, we're here, you're there, we're all a family. This is the GAM Theater, a group that we enjoy very much in our state, in Rhode Island, and we give to and we go to. And, they're shut down. So what are they doing? They're doing things virtually, and they're coming up with new stuff to do online that I can go to tonight, the premiere at 6 p.m. on YouTube or Facebook, and I can go watch something. I can, I could have like the Animal Rescue League of Boston. This is one of their emails recent. They come pretty often, actually, maybe once a week at a minimum. It's a cute break. Your virtual care package, part 2, and there's a part 3, and there's a part 4, and then and what do they do when they get you in? They right away say, it's about you. You deserve a cute break. Here are adorable animals you have assisted. Here's a wild rescue you made possible. Thank you. Not for your gift, but for being an unwavering champion for animals in need. And I know the results of this change in tone because I audited their stuff. And this change in tone from what they used to say, the way they used to talk to the way they talk now, has resulted in a 40% improvement in annual giving from the time they started till now, about 4 years. Here's Judy Jacobs, Friends of the Blue Hills, and she's going to have a virtual book club. Give me something to do that is related to the mission that you can't necessarily do right now. So here's Jen Shang haranguing all of you, saying, okay, here's what you have to do first. Connect with each person this week, however you do it. Doesn't matter. The channel doesn't matter. Email, phone, social media, direct mail for that matter. Say one caring sentence to each person this week. Thank each person this week. These are the people already on your list. Thank them this week. And then repeat that over and over. You cannot overthank people. If they honestly feel, not think, but feel that you have stretched and reached out and done something pretty extraordinary as the part of the charity family, to say, hey, how's it going? At this time, we're all in this together. We're gonna do something. There's something we can do at this point in time. And if you can help, great. We're not coming to you necessarily for money. I mean, sometimes you don't. What she just talked about, none of that was about asking for a gift. It's about the connection. It's about keeping the connection alive, which is exactly what Jeff Brooks was talking about in the earlier thing. Going silent on donors at this point in time is a very bad idea, because the connection dies when this. Don't waste this crisis. Go out and connect with your donor. Where are we headed? Well, I have a crystal ball, don't we all? And but there are some indications of where we might be going. There is a kind of a pattern to giving that we have seen in other crises. Now, there's never been a crisis like this, although there were kind of warm-up crises like the SARS, potential pandemic, and so forth, and the great 1918 flu killing spree. Those are what was learned from each crisis. Each crisis is going to be different, but there is the bump where there's a surge in emergency giving. So that's, you send out your emergency appeal, people respond, yes, it's the right time. You put the right offer in front of the right people at the right time, they made a gift, okay, so they've done that. Now, there's a slump. And that slump can last 4 to 6 months, as you can see here. Then there's the phase 3, where they're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. The balance of negative articles in the news versus positive signs, green shoots from the 2008 financial collapse. That's what they were called, green shoots. Yes, the green shoots. Oh, something's working. Finally, thank you. So the world won't end. Then you get in 2021 what is you'll always have after something like this, which is the new normal. Now, it could be the next normal, right? New normal makes it sound scary. The next normal makes it sound familiar. And I want to thank Julia Campbell for coming up with Next Normal, because that's where I learned about it. Here's a free ebook that might help you with your thanking, and it's based on research, and you can get it from the Philanthropy Institute. It used to be called the Philanthropy Center, but now it's called the philanthropyinstitute.org. It's over in the UK, but it's a downloadable PDF and it's free. And then you should all, just because this is fabulous stuff, get Jerry Panis's, the late Jerry Panis's irrefutable canons of fundraising. There's more good advice in that than you can consume in a career. It's fabulous. If you only had to read one book about fundraising, I'd make it this one, and it's free and it's a PDF. So there you go. That's what I have to talk to you about today. We got a couple of minutes. I don't know, Randy, if you're still there.
Tom. Of course. I was great. I was hanging on every word. At one point I said, wow, Tom is a real word nerd, and I love it.
Yeah, I confess, I'm guilty.
But as always, I learned something new, or you verified something that I, just went, yes, 100%.
Excellent. How do you do this? Do you ask for questions, or?
Yeah, we got a couple.
Okay.
Someone just asked to look up the last, or back up to the last slide so they can make sure they get the book.
The irrefutable canon. Yeah, trust me, if you Google the irrefutable canons of fundraising, you'll go right to it, because there's no other book competing with those terms.
So you gave examples early on where it was like your money will do X for the organization, like $500 will save this dog, or whatever the case may be. What if you're an advocacy group that does research? How can you kind of put a number to something? Does that make sense?
I think I know what the question is, because I've heard it a lot. Basically, we're not feeding the hungry, and how do we talk about our thing? And the first thing to realize is that there are people out there who will care. Most charities make all their donations from a fairly small number or percentage of people. So the idea we're going to raise money from everybody, no, you're not. You're going to raise money from a very tiny percentage of the population who care about what you are doing. Now, that said, how would they get to the point of caring? Well, they have to understand it emotionally, not intellectually. So that is the hard part. That's where you go to copywriter school and learn how to get into their heads. Now, for instance, if your research has some impact on children, then you might focus on the kids that will be helped down the trail once this research is completed, or whatever. And the reason you're focusing on kids is because biology gave you a grant. Biology gave you what's called the cuteness factor, and the cuteness factor is a thing. It's a signal in the human species, because it isn't in all species, but it is in the human species. We see something and we call it cute. Now that could be puppies or kittens or kids, but the thing we are calling cute actually has a scientific measurement. It's kind of the relationship of the size of the forehead to the chin to the eyes and so forth, and so it is a signal in biology that this young entity, is still vulnerable and still needs care. And as the adult in this, looking at this child, I'm then on tap as a potential caregiver, and which is a lot. So many charities the advantage they have is that they have something to do with kids, so they can lean on the cuteness factor in order to break through the inertia that is their real enemy. Now, for a lot of scientific based charities, I think the thing that stumps them is, how do we talk about our work in a way that raises money and yet does not violate somehow our, our work and doesn't misrepresent it? Is your work about kids? Well, a little bit. Okay, so, well, let's focus on the little bit. Now, we don't want to do that because we are scientists and we have ethics, thank God, and so forth. But you've got to get beyond yourself again. This is not, if nothing else, read the book Made to Stick, which is a book by the Heath brothers that investigates why messaging does not penetrate very well usually. And the reason it doesn't penetrate very well usually is something they call the curse of knowledge. You know too much to be able to see your cause the way outsiders see it. As Richard Radcliffe once memorably said to me, donors, and he's talked to 25,000 plus donors about why they give, donors are, quote unquote, staggeringly ignorant of the causes they support. He did not mean that was a bad thing. He meant you are so lucky. You don't have to educate them. They are already 99.9% there because of what's already in their head, their feelings, their biology, their identities that they rely on to get through life. And those are what you're actually talking to. So again, if you're trying to explain your 6 wonderful esoteric programs and research projects, you're going down the wrong route. You're talking to the wrong audience and talking to them in the wrong way. So you have to, who's our target audience? Why would they care? And what do we have that's good for them? How's that?
All right. Do you have time for one or two more?
Sure.
Also, could you back up another slide? Everyone wants that book. So
there you go.
There we go, everyone. I'm glad you stayed on for that. I have a friend who is an endowment for the arts, and they're celebrating how they've helped the sector stabilize during this time, and focusing on stewardship right now. Hearing from our board that we should not be soliciting. Is there a place for our case right now? Should they be soliciting?
Well, first of all, and I would say this to anybody who brought that up, if the board, that is the board, the whole board is saying we shouldn't solicit right now, then they are ignorant. That's wrong. That is utterly, totally stupid and wrong. Now, I say that not knowing any of them, and bless their hearts, I'm sure they're wonderful people and they mean well, but it is stupid. We can go on now, Randy. I really have nothing else to say.
Okay, great. Let's see here. One more. Oh, the Made to Stick authors. It's one of my favorite marketing books, by the way.
What is it called, Randy?
The Made to Stick. Who are the authors of that?
Made to Stick. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's fabulous. Everything they write is fabulous.
Remind me of the author, though.
Well, it is the Heath brothers. So
okay.
Chip and, I was going to say Chip and Dale Heath. No, it's Chip and Dan Heath.
Yep. Chip and Dale is a whole nother story. Here's
whole other species.
Here's the last question, and then a lot of people are asking for the slides, and if you're willing, just send them my way and I'll get them to them.
Of course. I will, as soon as we get off, I will put this into a PDF and send it to you, Randy, and then you can distribute it.
Yep, I will do that.
Distribute it as much as you want. You don't have to ask me ever again for any kind of permission.
So how and when do you talk about the next normal to your supporters? Is it wise to connect donations to that kind of messaging?
Well, I mean, that is an interesting question. That would be a good thing to get the board wrapped around, is what should we be talking about? Well, the next normal is an interesting idea. Let's assume that the coronavirus goes the way that other medical catastrophes, dramas have gone, which is eventually medical science gets its arms around it. Now, it's not going to happen as fast as anybody really wants, because we're kind of the great nation of instant gratification. So, 2 years from now, you get a vaccine, you're going to go, well, that's a long time. Well, yeah, but it's going to happen. And what this catastrophe myself reminds me of most is 2008, which was the financial collapse. So in 2008, it's like you're hanging on every day for these green shoots to appear in the news. Oh, something's finally happening. There's movement, something's happening. And now, so what are we? We're 12 years down the road from that catastrophe. And in that middle period, the stock market went crazy through the roof, made tons of money that had never been made before, and people have that the benefit of that in their 401k, assuming that it's capably managed. And it came back. In other words, there is a next normal. You can't predict what it will be, but it'll happen. So you can say, okay, either the coronavirus is going to kill everybody or it isn't. It isn't. Is it going to come under control? It will. Where are we going to be then? Will we still need to do what we're doing? Yes, we probably will, because it had nothing to do with your mission. It just came in as an asteroid, and it's an apocalyptic event that is going to go away eventually. Not as some. I'm not going to say anything, but so. Where do you want to be right now? Where you want to be right now, I think the best thing you can do during this period is to build out your base, is to, experiment a little bit, maybe with Facebook, experiment with, if you've been sending out just one email a month, send out one email a week, see what happens, and include some kind of offer in there so that people can respond if they wish, and you'll get some sense of, are they responding? Are they? Well, of course, you get some sense from your opening rate, or if they see you as relevant or not. If it's a low opening rate, they don't, and if it's a higher opening rate, they do. So, the arts are, for the people who support the arts, for instance, art is part of their life. It is part of their identity. It is something they love. It is something they crave. It is novel. It is new. It is interesting. And so you're out supporting the arts. You're keeping that arts world stable. Tell me what's happening out there. Tell me. Just give me a report. Make it your new job, is to report on the scene and take me into various studios. You have to do it virtually, of course, but that's fun too. We're learning so much about how to really put digital tools to work right now. And so treat this as boot camp for getting to know your digital tools.
All right. Well, there's a great one about how do you approach endowment fundraising, if you want to tackle that right now, or I'm sorry, leaving a bequest. Fundraising.
How to approach it? Well, first of all, stop thinking of them as dead people. That's one of my basic pieces of advice. Anybody can successfully market legacies. People like the idea. They are writing their wills when they're very much alive. And so stop thinking of them as dead people, because that's what's inhibiting you. Oh, we don't want to talk about death. Well, you're not talking about death. You're talking about my values and my life and my leaving something fabulous for the future. I'm not leaving it behind. I'm leaving it ahead. And if people, right now you could reasonably say to people, yes, you'll get a couple of complaints. No, they won't matter. But you could reasonably say to people, this period, the coronavirus period, has really, got us thinking about things we normally don't want to think a lot about, like, what happens if? And what you're really bringing to them is, here's this opportunity you've never considered. And that's actually why most charitable bequests don't get written, is because we know from research it just, quote unquote, never occurred to me. So these are your donors. They already love you. If they've given to you 3 years or more, then they are solid supporters. They're your core. They're your true believers. And you go to them and you say, and once a year you send this letter. Hey, how you doing? We love you. Continue to love you. We just want to bring something to your attention. Other supporters, core believers just like you, do this sometimes, and they love it. And that is to put a gift in your will. And that's the phraseology, by the way, that tests what best, because it doesn't have much to do with death. It's just kind of functional. It's not for now. It'll be, and you can project out and say it might be decades before that gift goes to work. And that way, you're sort of subtly saying, because we don't want you to die. But here's what can happen. And one of the examples I use in our bequest marketing webinar is the oldest endowed scholarship fund I'm aware of. It's in England. It's at Oxford University, and it was established in 1246. And it continues to send poor kids with good minds to one of the world's greatest universities every bloody year since. So, is that a nice legacy, or would what do you want for your legacy? To have a headstone, or would you like to be, creating doctors of the future and stuff like that? There's so many great examples of what an endowed fund, for instance, parked at a community foundation, can do in the world. One of my clients is the Hampton Roads Community Foundation. They do a wonderful job of legacy marketing, and they talk about, for instance, the woman that set up the fund to send people to medical school back in the 1950s, and they talk about how many doctors have been created from that fund since then. And it's like, I want to do that. I want to leave that ahead for the future. This is what I'm going to do for the future. So you stop thinking of them as dead people. Start talking to them about what they can do for the future.
Awesome. And on that, we'll end on that lively discussion about estate planning.
Yeah, it's a good. I'm passionate about it. We never had children, so all our estate goes to charity, and people. That's a feature of life, and maybe not in the Midwest, because I know you guys are bunnies out there. But the number of households without kids has been growing steadily in the United States.
Yeah.
And it's now over 50%, and I don't think people quite realize that. Over 50% of households do not have children, and that means if they have a will, you can get in that will.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, one of the things that really drove me to finish up my estate planning was the fact that my parents' lawyers said, what if, I'm an only child, so what if your son goes first? And then they were like, well, we would want to give to what Randy would want him, that matters to him. And so that was, I'm so thankful for that, for that lawyer to be that thoughtful, to put that in play. So
wow. That's that is a nice piece of evidence.
Yeah, it's at every age, people, every age.
Yeah.
Keep asking gently or loudly sometimes.
Just the whole bold thing. I should go back to that slide and just leave it up there, because the bold thing is the thing that's preventing you. You've got an entire board saying this is not the right time to do that, and I'm telling you they are dead wrong, and they don't know it. And it's like, no, you've got to step. Don't go quiet. Okay, I don't want to go off into another tantrum, so we'll leave it at that, Randy.
All right. Well, it's always so good to talk to you, and I thank you for taking the time today to be with our attendees. They're raving about this great webinar. Well, of course it is.
Thank you, everyone.
We have Tom Ahern on.
Much appreciated. Thank you for making my day.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Go out and do the best you can.
Yeah, that's it. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.